Before we start, I want to say that only 1% of you are subscribed. Please subscribe because when we reach 1,000 subscribers, I will post a special video for you. The glow of the setting sun cast a soft orange hue across the quiet streets of Grove Hill, a small town where everyone knew each other's names. Tom, the town's solitary florist, was locking up his shop, Bloom and Grow, for the day when a sudden brilliant streak of light sliced through the twilight sky. He watched, awestruck, as it descended rapidly, disappearing behind a line of willow trees at the edge of the nearby field. Curious and a little apprehensive, Tom grabbed his flashlight and heavy coat. As he stepped out, he ran into his neighbor, Mike, a retired engineer and amateur astronomer who was already heading towards the site with his own equipment. "Did you see that, Tom? That wasn't any meteor I've seen before," Mike said, adjusting the strap of his binoculars. "I did. It looked controlled, almost like a landing. Let's find out what it was," Tom replied, the possibility exciting him more than he wanted to admit. They crossed the field together, the cold air biting at their faces. As they neared the site, a soft humming sound filled the air, and the smell of scorched earth became evident. There, nestled in a newly formed crater, was a small, metallic pod, its exterior smoldering slightly. "Be careful, Tom. We don't know what's in there," Mike cautioned, holding Tom's arm. Tom nodded, shining his flashlight over the pod. It was then they heard faint movements from inside. Slowly, the hatch began to open, and a figure emerged, silhouetted against the light from within. The figure stumbled out, and Tom immediately stepped forward, his instinct to help taking over. "Hey, are you all right?" he called out gently. The alien, a girl with luminescent skin and eyes too big for her face, looked up at them. Her expression was one of confusion and fear. Where am I?" she asked, her voice a melodious whisper that seemed almost musical. "You're on Earth, in a place called Grove Hill. You're safe here," Tom replied, offering her his hand. Mike chimed in, his voice full of wonder. "You're not from around here, are you? What's your name?" "I'm Zara," she said, taking Tom's hand cautiously. "I escaped from Valoria. My ship was damaged. I didn't know where I was heading. We need to get her somewhere warm and safe," Tom said, looking to Mike for agreement. "I'll bring my van around. We can take her to my place." "My wife will know what to do," Mike suggested, already dialing on his phone. As they helped Zara to the van, Tom couldn't help but feel that this night would change his life forever. The stars above seemed to twinkle knowingly, the universe itself conspiring to bring these paths together. As they drove away from the field, the lights of the pod dimmed, and the adventure of a lifetime began quietly in the small town of Grove Hill. The following morning, Tom and Mike sat at the kitchen table with cups of steaming coffee, watching as Zara curiously inspected the various ornaments and books that filled the room. Despite the strangeness of the situation, there was a quiet domesticity about it that felt surprisingly comforting. "So, Zara, how are you feeling today? Any better?" Tom asked, noticing her tentative movements around the room. Zara turned, giving him a slight nod. "Yes, thank you, Tom. This place is very different from Valoria, but it's peaceful. I'm still trying to understand everything." Mike leaned forward, his engineering mind buzzing with questions. "Can you tell us more about where you come from? What is Valoria like?" "It's a world much different than Earth. Vast cities of crystal and metal, skies filled with ships. But there's conflict and much sadness," Zara explained, her voice tinged with melancholy. Tom exchanged a glance with Mike, sensing the depth of her loss. "You're safe here, Zara, and we're going to help you adjust. How about starting with some basics about Earth? Maybe even teach you a bit about human customs." Zara smiled, the first genuine smile they had seen. "I would like that. I want to learn, to fit in." The next few weeks were a blur of activity. Tom took Zara under his wing, showing her how to tend the flowers in his shop, which he seemed to have a natural affinity for. Mike, ever the tinkerer, was thrilled to teach her about Earth's technology, which, though primitive compared to hers, fascinated Zara with its simplicity. One afternoon, as they planted new tulips in the garden, Tom decided to broach a more personal subject. Zara, back on Vealoria, did you have family? People who cared for you? Zara paused, her hands deep in the soil. Yes, a family, but it's complicated. I had to leave them behind. It's just part of being who I am, or who I was. Tom nodded, understanding the pain of loss all too well. I lost my wife a few years ago. It's never easy letting go of the past. But sometimes, new beginnings are hidden in these moments. Zara looked up at him, empathy in her eyes. You are kind, Tom. I see why this place is home for you. Their conversations became the bridge that connected their worlds, each sharing and learning from the other. Tom introduced Zara to other residents of Grove Hill, who were initially skeptical, but soon enchanted by her gentle demeanor and eagerness to learn. One evening, as they closed the shop together, Tom asked, How do you feel about all this, Zara? Being so far from your world. It's scary but exciting, Zara admitted. I miss Vealoria, but I'm starting to see Earth as a home too, thanks to you and Mike. Tom smiled, placing a supportive hand on her shoulder. We're glad to have you here, Zara. And remember, no matter where you're from, you're part of our community now. As they locked up the shop and walked towards a fading sunset, it was clear that Zara was no longer just a visitor from another planet. She was becoming a part of the small, tightly knit fabric of Grove Hill, woven together by shared experiences and newfound friendships. Months passed, and Zara's life on Earth grew increasingly rich and complex. She had found a rhythm in the small community of Grove Hill, helping Tom in his flower shop during the day and spending evenings learning about Earth's cultures with Mike and his family. Yet, as winter melted into spring, she found herself grappling with new, unfamiliar emotions. One brisk morning, while arranging a bouquet of vibrant tulips and daffodils, Zara turned to Tom, her expression thoughtful. Tom, do humans ever feel confused about their feelings for someone else? Tom paused, his hands busy with the flowers. He looked up, meeting her gaze with a gentle smile. All the time, Zara. It's pretty normal. Are you feeling something like that? Zara nodded, her voice barely above a whisper. Yes, for someone I know. It's new and a bit scary. Tom put down his shears and leaned on the counter, giving her his full attention. That's part of being human, Zara. Feeling love, affection, fear, confusion. It's all mixed together. It's how we know we're really alive. Is it always so complicated? She asked, a trace of amusement in her voice. Usually, yes. But those feelings can be wonderful, too. They connect us to others in ways that nothing else can, Tom explained, trying to offer comfort. Later that day, Mike dropped by the shop with a new gadget he had been working on. He found Tom and Zara laughing over a spilled vase of water, their camaraderie evident. Seems I'm missing all the fun, Mike joked as he entered. We're just mastering the art of flower arrangement, Tom replied, winking at Zara. What have you got there, Mike? Just something to help with the heavier lifting around here. Mike unveiled a small robotic arm, its joints whirring softly as it moved. Thought we could use a little extra help. Zara was fascinated. Can you teach me how to operate it? Of course, Mike said, his enthusiasm infectious. The rest of the afternoon was spent in laughter and light-hearted banter as Mike instructed Zara on the robot's use, with Tom chipping in from time to time. As the day drew to a close, the trio decided to visit the local diner. Over burgers and fries, the conversation turned reflective. You've really made a life here, Zara, Mike observed, sipping his coffee. You seem to fit right in. Zara smiled, looking between Tom and Mike. I feel that too. I never expected to find such friendship, such a family here. Tom nodded, his eyes warm. And we didn't expect to find someone who'd change our lives the way you have. The meal ended with a promise to attend the upcoming spring festival together, a celebration of renewal that seemed apt for Zara's new chapter on Earth. That night, as Zara lay in bed, she thought about her conversation with Tom earlier. The feelings she had been unsure about seemed clearer now. They were indeed what humans called love. She realized she felt this most strongly for Tom, whose kindness and understanding had first made this alien world feel like home. Unsure of the future but emboldened by her heart, Zara drifted into sleep with a sense of peace, knowing that whatever came next, she faced it not alone, but with a new family by her side. One lazy Sunday afternoon, as the town of Grove Hill enjoyed the serenity of an early spring day, Tom and Zara were tidying up the shop after a busy week. The air was filled with the scent of lilies and roses, a fragrance that had become a comforting constant in Zara's life on Earth. As they worked, the bell above the door jingled merrily, and in walked Jerry, the local postman, with a stack of mail and a curious expression. "Got something a bit unusual today, Tom. This one's marked urgent and looks like it's from way off the usual paths," he said, handing a sleek, metallic envelope to Tom. "Thanks, Jerry. Anything else interesting in the pile?" Tom asked, his interest piqued by the unusual mail. "Just the usual bills and ads. You know how it is," Jerry replied with a shrug before bidding them goodbye. Tom sliced open the envelope with a small knife, pulling out a holographic message device. As he activated it, a three-dimensional image of a stern-looking alien figure appeared, speaking in a crisp, authoritative tone. "This message is for the Earthling harboring Zara of Veloria. It has come to our attention that she resides unauthorized on your planet. As her legal guardian and regent of the Velorian throne, I demand her return to fulfill her duties as a princess of the realm." Tom and Zara exchanged shocked looks. Zara's hands trembled slightly, and her voice was a whisper. "I didn't think they'd find me here. I thought I had more time. What are you going to do, Zara?" Tom asked, concern etching his features. I don't know. This is my home now. I don't want to leave," she said, her voice firm despite her obvious anxiety. "We need to talk to someone about this. Maybe Mike can help. He's got contacts in the government," Tom suggested, already reaching for his phone. Later that day, Mike joined them in the back room of the flower shop, his brow furrowed in thought as he listened to their predicament. "This is tricky, but maybe we can appeal for asylum or some kind of diplomatic immunity," he mused. "Is that possible?" Zara asked, hope flickering in her eyes. "It's worth a try. I'll make some calls, see what the options are. In the meantime, both of you lay low. No need to stir up more attention," Mike advised. The following weeks were a tense blur of meetings and legal discussions. Tom stood by Zara's side throughout, his support unwavering. They spent long evenings discussing her options and planning for every possible outcome. One evening, as they sat exhausted on the couch in Tom's living room, Zara leaned her head on his shoulder. "Thank you for being here, Tom. I can't imagine going through this without you." Tom wrapped an arm around her, pulling her close. "I told you before, you're not alone in this. Whatever comes, we'll face it together." As they sat in silence, the weight of the world seemed a little lighter with the comfort of their shared strength. The challenges ahead loomed large, but so did their resolve to overcome them. In that moment, the flower shop, a place of nurturing and growth, felt like the strongest fortress. Over the next few weeks, the bond between Tom and Zara grew stronger as they navigated the complexities of interstellar diplomacy. Despite the uncertainty of Zara's situation, they found solace in their daily routines and the quiet moments they shared. One cool evening, as they were closing up the shop, Zara turned to Tom, her expression serious. "Tom, I've been thinking a lot about everything that's happening. I want to talk about us." Tom wiped his hands on a cloth, his heart rate quickening at her words. "Of course, Zara. What's on your mind? It's just, with everything that's going on, I've realized how important you've become to me. More than just a friend or a guardian. I care about you, Tom, deeply," Zara confessed, her gaze locked with his. Tom took a deep breath, his own feelings mirroring hers. "Zara, I feel the same way. These past months, getting to know you, helping you, it's changed me. You changed me. I care about you more than I thought possible." They stood in the dim light of the shop, the air thick with emotion. Slowly, Tom stepped closer, his hand reaching out to gently touch her face. Zara leaned into his touch, her eyes closing briefly at the contact. "May I?" Tom asked softly, his voice barely above a whisper. Zara nodded, her heart pounding. Tom leaned in, and their lips met in a tender, hesitant kiss that quickly deepened as they drew each other close. The world around them seemed to fade away, leaving only the two of them, their hearts beating in unison. After a moment, they parted, breathless. "I was afraid to admit it, even to myself," Tom said, his forehead resting against hers. "But I love you, Zara. I don't want to face a future without you. I love you too, Tom." "More than anything," Zara replied, her voice filled with emotion. They spent the evening talking about their feelings and what this meant for their future. It was a conversation full of dreams and plans, fears and reassurances, but most importantly, it was filled with love. The next day, Mike came by the shop with news. "I've been in touch with a few people. There's a hearing scheduled to discuss Zara's status. It's going to be tough, but you'll have a chance to make your case." Tom and Zara listened intently as Mike outlined the process. "We need to present a strong case for why Zara should be allowed to stay on Earth," Mike explained. "Her contributions to the community, the life she's built here, and any potential risks if she returns to Valoria. I'll do whatever it takes," Zara declared, determination in her voice. "This is my home now with Tom. We'll all support you," Mike promised, clapping Tom on the back. "We're in this together." As they prepared for the upcoming legal battle, Tom and Zara's relationship provided a source of strength and comfort. They were partners, not just in love, but in life's challenges. Together, they faced the uncertain future, united by their deep bond in the community that stood behind them. The days leading up to the hearing were a whirlwind of preparation. Tom, Zara, and Mike spent countless hours in Tom's living room, surrounded by legal documents, cups of coffee, and takeout containers. They worked late into the night, refining their arguments and rehearsing Zara's testimony. On the morning of the hearing, the atmosphere in Tom's house was tense. Zara paced the living room, her nerves frayed. Tom watched her, his concern growing. Finally, he stood and gently took her by the shoulders, stopping her in her tracks. "Zara, you're going to be great. Just speak from the heart. Let them see the person I see every day," Tom reassured her, giving her a comforting smile. Zara took a deep breath, nodding. "I just don't want to leave you, Tom. Not now, not ever. You won't have to. I'm right here with you," Tom said, squeezing her hands. Mike arrived shortly after, dressed in a sharp suit, his expression serious. "It's time to go. Are you ready?" Zara straightened up, her resolve firming. "Yes, let's do this." They arrived at the courthouse, a formidable modern building downtown. The hearing room was filled with officials from various departments, including representatives from the Interstellar Relations Board. The atmosphere was formal and slightly cold, adding to Zara's anxiety. Tom, Zara, and Mike took their seats at a table facing the panel. A stern-looking official called the meeting to order. "Zara of Valoria, you are here to request asylum from your obligations as a princess of your home planet. Please present your case," the official announced. Zara stood, her voice steady despite her nerves. "Thank you for allowing me to speak today. I came to Earth by chance, seeking refuge from a conflict I could not control. Since arriving, I have found more than safety. I have found a home, a community, and a family. I have contributed to this community and built a life here with the man I love. To force me to return would not only harm me, but would also deprive this community of a member who is dedicated to its well-being." Tom watched her, pride swelling in his heart. Her eloquence under pressure was just another reason he loved her. One of the officials leaned forward, interjecting, "But you are a princess. Does your duty to your people not weigh on your conscience?" Zara responded without hesitation. "It does, every day, but I believe I can do more good here on Earth." My experiences have taught me about leadership, compassion, and justice. Lessons I would not have learned had I not been part of this community. The panel whispered among themselves before another official spoke. And what of the man you mentioned? How does he factor into your decision? Tom stood, his voice firm. I'm Tom, and I run a small flower shop in Grove Hill. Zara has become an essential part of our town. She's taught us about her world, and she's learned from us. Our relationship is built on mutual respect and love, and it's strengthened by our desire to help others. Her staying here benefits everyone. The panel deliberated for what seemed like an eternity before calling a recess. Tom, Zara, and Mike huddled together, going over their responses and preparing for any further questions. When the officials returned, the tension was palpable. The lead official cleared his throat, ready to deliver their decision. As the officials convened back in the room, a heavy silence fell over the crowd. Everyone waited anxiously for the decision that would determine Zara's fate. Tom squeezed Zara's hand under the table, offering silent reassurance as the head official prepared to speak. After careful consideration and review of the arguments presented, we find the case of Zara Vealoria to be unprecedented yet compelling. The official began, his voice echoing in the quiet room. Zara has demonstrated a commitment to her new community on Earth and has clearly formed bonds that benefit not only her personal growth, but also those around her. Tom felt a surge of hope, but he remained cautious, knowing the decision was not final yet. The official continued. However, her obligations to her home planet cannot be dismissed lightly. We propose a probationary period during which Zara's contributions to both Earth and Vealoria will be evaluated. A murmur swept through the room, and Mike leaned over to whisper, "It's a compromise. Not ideal, but it's something." Zara stood again, her voice clear and strong. "Thank you for the opportunity to prove myself. I accept this probation, but with a plea. Please consider what I have built here, not just for me, but for the community that has embraced me. I wish to make my life here with Tom, without the fear of being torn away from a home I have come to love deeply." The official nodded. "Your plea is noted, Ms. Zara. We will reconvene in 6 months to review your case again. Until then, you are permitted to remain on Earth." As they left the courthouse, Tom, Zara, and Mike felt a mix of relief and lingering tension. 6 months, Tom mused as they walked back to his car. "We have 6 months to make a case, so strong they can't possibly send you back." "I know we can do it," Zara replied, her determination unwavering, "especially with you by my side." They decided to host a small gathering that evening at Tom's house to thank their friends and neighbors for their support. As the living room filled with people from Grove Hill, Tom took a moment to appreciate the community that had rallied around them. During the gathering, Tom stood up to speak. "I want to thank each of you for your support and kindness through these challenging times. Zara and I are grateful beyond words. Tonight, we celebrate not just a victory, but the community that made it possible." Cheers filled the room, and Zara added, "Your friendship and support have given me strength. I've learned that home is more than a place. It's the people who make it meaningful." Later, as the guests began to leave, Mike pulled Tom aside. "You two really pulled through today. But remember, the real work starts now. We've got to keep showing how invaluable Zara is to Grove Hill." "I know," Tom acknowledged, "and we will. We're going to make sure the next hearing is nothing but a formality." As the last guest left, Tom and Zara cleaned up together in comfortable silence. Finally, Tom broke it, saying, "You were incredible today, Zara. You spoke with such poise and passion." Zara smiled, leaning against Tom. "I had a great teacher. You showed me how to be part of a community, how to care about more than just survival." As they stood in the quiet aftermath of the night, the weight of the upcoming months felt lighter, buffered by their shared strength and the community behind them. They knew the road ahead would be challenging, but together they felt ready to face whatever came their way. As the 6-month probationary period drew to a close, Tom and Zara had left no stone unturned in demonstrating her positive impact on Grove Hill. The entire community rallied, helping to organize events, workshops, and meetings that showcase Zara's contributions, from her work at the flower shop to community service projects. The morning of the final hearing, Tom and Zara sat at the kitchen table, going over their final statements. Tom looked over at Zara, who was quietly rehearsing her lines. "You ready for this?" he asked, reaching out to squeeze her hand. Zara nodded, squeezing back. "With you by my side? Always." At the courthouse, the atmosphere was less tense than before, as many of the officials had already seen the positive reports and community feedback. As Zara and Tom presented their case, supported by testimonies from various community leaders and documentation of Zara's initiatives, the mood in the room felt cautiously optimistic. When it was his turn to speak, Tom took a deep breath and addressed the panel. "Ladies and gentlemen, over the past 6 months, we have not only fulfilled but exceeded every condition set forth in this probation. Zara has become integral to our town, not just as a resident, but as a leader who has brought us closer together. Her story is a testament to what makes our community great: diversity, acceptance, and mutual support." The head official nodded thoughtfully as he listened, occasionally jotting down notes. When the presentations concluded, the panel retreated for deliberation, leaving Tom, Zara, and their friends in a hopeful wait. After what seemed like an eternity, the officials returned. The head official stood, clearing his throat before delivering their decision. After reviewing the evidence and testimonials presented, we are pleased to grant Zara a Veloria permanent residency on Earth. Her contributions to Grove Hill are not only admirable, but deeply valuable to the fabric of this community. The room erupted in applause, and Zara let out a breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. Tears of relief and joy welled in her eyes as Tom wrapped her in a celebratory hug. "We did it," Tom whispered in her ear, his voice choked with emotion. "We did it together," Zara corrected, pulling back to look at him with a radiant smile. That evening, the celebrations in Grove Hill were lively and heartfelt. The local community center hosted a party in Zara's honor, where friends and neighbors gathered to celebrate the victory. Laughter and music filled the air, creating a festive atmosphere. During the party, Mike clinked his glass to get everyone's attention. "I think I speak for all of us when I say that we're not just celebrating Zara's residency tonight. We're celebrating what makes our community special. Zara, you've taught us as much about ourselves as we have hopefully taught you." Zara took the floor, her eyes scanning the familiar faces in the crowd. "I came to Earth looking for refuge, but I found a home and a family. Thank you for accepting me, supporting me, and fighting alongside me. I am here today because of each of you." As the party wound down, Tom and Zara took a quiet walk under the stars. "What's next for us?" Tom asked, his tone reflective. Zara leaned her head against his shoulder. "Let's continue making a difference, right here in Grove Hill. Maybe start a few more community projects." Tom laughed softly. "That sounds perfect, as long as we're doing it together." They walked back to their shared home, their steps light with the knowledge that they faced a future together, supported by a community that loved them. In Grove Hill, under the vast, star-filled sky, Tom and Zara's love, once a budding possibility, had blossomed into a lasting commitment, enriching not just their lives but the whole town's.